I can't do this." "I have a phobia of needles," Aunt Lexi said coldly, avoiding the gaze of her 9-year-old niece lying in the hospital bed. The doctors exchanged frustrated looks. But Zoe, weakly, whispered something that made Lexi freeze. "You're not afraid of the needle, Auntie. You're afraid of what the DNA test will show." The heart monitor spiked as the family's darkest secret began to surface. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now subscribe to the channel and let's get started. "Mom, I can't breathe right," Emily said, dropping to her knees on the soccer field. Her small hands clutched at her chest, face suddenly pale against her bright red uniform. Linda Williams looked up from her conversation with another parent just in time to see her 10-year-old daughter collapse onto the grass. The world seemed to slow down as she ran across the field, her nurse's training kicking in even as her mother's heart pounded with fear. "Emily! Emily, can you hear me?" Linda gently turned her daughter onto her side, checking her breathing. Robert Williams pushed through the crowd of concerned parents and teammates that had gathered. "What happened? Is she okay?" "Call 911, Linda ordered, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "She's breathing, but something's very wrong." The ambulance arrived within minutes, its sirens splitting the peaceful Saturday morning at Springfield Community Park. The paramedics worked quickly, placing an oxygen mask over Emily's face and loading her onto a stretcher. "Her blood pressure is very low," one paramedic told Linda as they rushed toward the ambulance. "Has she been sick recently?" "No, nothing serious, just tired the past couple of weeks." "I thought it was just from school and soccer practice," Linda answered, climbing into the ambulance beside her daughter. She reached for Emily's hand, noticing for the first time how swollen her fingers looked. Robert followed the ambulance to Springfield Medical Center in his car, his knuckles white against the steering wheel. The history teacher, who prided himself on staying calm in any situation, found himself praying out loud, something he hadn't done since he was a child. At the emergency room, doctors moved with urgent efficiency. A young doctor named Dr. Sarah Miller ordered immediate blood tests and an ultrasound. "Mr. and Mrs. Williams, Emily's kidney function appears severely compromised," Dr. Miller explained when the first results came back. "Her creatinine levels are extremely elevated, and there's significant protein in her urine. These are signs of kidney failure." "Kidney failure?" Robert repeated, the words not making sense. "But she was fine yesterday. She's only 10 years old." Dr. Miller's face softened with compassion. "Sometimes, kidney disease can progress silently until it reaches a critical point. We need to transfer her to Boston Children's Hospital immediately. They have pediatric kidney specialists who can provide the care she needs." The next 6 hours passed in a blur of ambulance transfers, new doctors, and more tests. By evening, Emily lay in a hospital bed at Boston Children's Hospital, connected to monitors and an IV, her usually bright eyes dulled by medication and fatigue. Dr. James Cooper, the head of pediatric nephrology, sat down with Robert and Linda in a small consultation room. He was a tall man with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, but his expression was grave. "Emily has end-stage renal disease," he explained. "Both of her kidneys are failing rapidly. The blood tests show this has been developing for some time, but children can compensate remarkably well until they simply can't anymore. That's what happened today on the soccer field." Linda gripped Robert's hand. "What's the treatment plan?" "We'll start dialysis tonight to clean her blood artificially, but that's not a long-term solution for someone so young." Dr. Cooper paused. "Emily needs a kidney transplant, and relatively soon. Without one, I'm afraid she has weeks, possibly a few months." Robert felt the room tilt. "Weeks? I know this is overwhelming," Dr. Cooper said. "The good news is that living donor transplants have excellent outcomes. We'll need to test both of you immediately to see if either of you is a match." The next morning, both Robert and Linda underwent blood tests. Emily started her first dialysis session, crying from the discomfort of the large needles inserted into her arm. "It hurts, Mommy," she whimpered as Linda stroked her hair. "I know, sweetheart. The medicine will kick in soon and help with the pain." Linda forced a smile. "This machine is cleaning your blood because your kidneys need some help right now." Emily looked at the large machine beside her bed. "Will I need this forever?" Before Linda could answer, Robert stepped in. "No, honey. Just until we find you a new kidney. Maybe Mom or I will give you one of ours." 3 days later, Dr. Cooper called Robert and Linda into his office. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the computer. "I'm sorry," he said gently. "Neither of you is a compatible donor for Emily." Linda closed her eyes briefly. "What now?" "We've already placed Emily on the national transplant list, but finding a deceased donor match could take months or even years, especially for a child." Dr. Cooper leaned forward. "I strongly recommend testing any blood relatives, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. The closer the genetic relationship, the better chance of compatibility." That night, after Emily had finally fallen asleep in her hospital room, Robert made calls to every family member he could think of. His parents had passed away 3 years ago, and Linda was an only child whose parents lived in Arizona and were too elderly for donation. "What about your sister?" Linda asked as Robert hung up from his 6th call. "Kate?" Robert frowned. "She lives in Manhattan. We only see her on holidays. She's your only sibling, Robert. She might be Emily's best chance." Robert nodded slowly. "I'll call her tomorrow." "No," Linda said firmly. "Call her now." "This can't wait." The next morning, several relatives arrived at the hospital to be tested, while others arranged testing at local hospitals in their hometowns. Emily grew weaker by the day, sleeping more and eating less. The dialysis helped, but her small body was struggling. "Look what my class sent," Emily said one afternoon, her voice thin as she pointed to a video playing on Linda's tablet. Her 4th-grade classmates had recorded messages of support, many of them crying as they spoke. "They miss you," Robert said, swallowing hard. "You'll be back with them soon." Emily looked up at him with eyes too wise for her age. "You don't have to pretend, Dad. I know this is really bad." That evening, Dr. Cooper found Robert in the hospital cafeteria, staring at a cup of cold coffee. "Mr. Williams, I have some potentially good news," the doctor said. "The lab just called with preliminary results from your sister's blood test. She appears to be a very good match for Emily, better than we usually hope for with an aunt." Robert felt the first glimmer of real hope in days. "Are you sure?" "We need to run additional tissue typing tests, but her blood type is compatible and the initial antigen matching is excellent. If the final results confirm this, she could donate as soon as next week." Robert rushed back to Emily's room to tell Linda, who burst into tears of relief. Emily was sleeping, her face peaceful for once. "I need to call Kate right away," Robert said, stepping into the hallway. He pulled out his phone with trembling hands and dialed his sister's number. Kate answered on the 3rd ring. "Robert? Is everything okay?" "It's almost midnight." "Kate, I'm sorry to call so late," Robert began, his voice cracking. "It's about Emily. She's very sick. Her kidneys are failing." "Oh my God, Robert, I'm so sorry. What can I do?" "The doctors tested you remotely using the blood sample you provided," Robert continued. "Kate, you're a match. You're actually an excellent match. Better than we could have hoped for." "A match?" Kate's voice sounded strange, distant. "Yes. You could save her life, Kate. The doctors say we need to move quickly. Could you come to Boston as soon as possible? Emily doesn't have much time." The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long that Robert thought they'd been disconnected. "Kate? Are you there?" "Yes," Kate finally answered, her voice barely audible. "I'm here." Robert gripped the phone tightly. "So you'll do it? You'll come to Boston?" There was another long pause, followed by Kate's sharp intake of breath. "I can't do it, Robert. I'm sorry. I just can't." "I can't do it, Robert. I'm sorry. I just can't," Kate said, her voice trembling through the phone. Robert stood frozen in the hospital hallway, unable to speak. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as nurses walked past, unaware that his world had just shattered. "Did you hear what I said?" Kate asked. "Are you still there?" "How can you say that?" Robert finally managed. "Emily is dying, Kate. The doctors say you're her best hope." "I have a severe phobia of hospitals and medical procedures," Kate explained, her words coming out too quickly. "Ever since that time I broke my arm when I was 7. You remember how bad it was." Robert pressed his fingers against his temple. "This isn't about a childhood fear, Kate. This is about saving your niece's life." "I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I can't." Kate hung up before Robert could respond. He stared at the silent phone for several seconds, then slowly walked back into Emily's room. Linda looked up from Emily's bedside, her face hopeful until she saw Robert's expression. "What did she say?" Linda asked. Robert shook his head. "She refused." "She what?" Linda's voice rose sharply. Then she glanced at Emily, who was sleeping. She lowered her voice to a whisper. "That's impossible. Why would she refuse?" "She claims she has a phobia of hospitals from when she broke her arm as a kid." Robert sank into the chair beside Emily's bed. "It doesn't make sense." "Kate visits doctors regularly for checkups. She had minor surgery 2 years ago." Linda reached across Emily to take Robert's hand. "There must be something else. Something she's not telling us." Throughout the night, Robert and Linda took turns watching Emily sleep. The soft beeping of the monitors provided a constant reminder of their daughter's fragile condition. "I can't accept this," Linda whispered around 2 o'clock in the morning. "I'm going to call her myself tomorrow." When morning came, Linda stepped into the hallway while Dr. Cooper examined Emily. She dialed Kate's number and waited. "Hello?" Kate answered cautiously. "Kate, it's Linda." She took a deep breath. "I need you to listen to me. Emily had another dialysis session this morning. Her body is getting weaker. Dr. Cooper says her kidneys are functioning at less than 10% now." "Linda, please just listen," Linda continued, her voice breaking. "You're her best chance, Kate. The procedure is safe. You'll be in the hospital for only 3 to 4 days. Within a month, you'll be back to normal." There was silence on the other end of the line. "Kate, she's just a little girl. She's your niece. Please reconsider." After a long pause, Kate spoke quietly. "I'll come visit her tomorrow. But I'm not promising anything." Linda closed her eyes in relief. "Thank you. That's all I'm asking right now." Inside the hospital room, Dr. Cooper adjusted Emily's medication. "We're going to increase your dialysis to twice daily," he told Emily gently. "That should help you feel a bit better." Emily nodded weakly. "Is Aunt Kate going to help me?" Dr. Cooper glanced at Robert, who stepped forward. "We're still figuring things out, sweetheart. But you focus on resting, okay?" Later that day, Robert tried calling Kate's law office in Manhattan. "I'm sorry, Mr. Williams," her assistant said. "Ms. Williams has taken unexpected personal leave. She's not expected back until next week." Robert frowned. "Did she say where she was going?" "No, sir. It was very sudden. She's never taken unplanned leave before." Meanwhile, at Emily's school in Springfield, her 4th grade class worked on a special project. Her teacher, Miss Patterson, hung photos of Emily on a large bulletin board while students attached colorful notes and drawings. "We're making a get-well wall for Emily," Ms. Patterson explained. "When she comes back, she'll see how much we all missed her." "When will she come back?" a small boy named Tyler asked. Ms. Patterson smiled sadly. "As soon as she's better, Tyler. We need to be patient." The next day, Robert and Linda were discussing donor options with Dr. Cooper when a nurse knocked on the door. "There's a Catherine Williams here to see Emily," she announced. They hurried to Emily's room to find Kate standing awkwardly in the doorway. She wore an expensive gray suit and kept her distance from the medical equipment. "Hi, Emily," Kate said, not moving closer to the bed. "How are you feeling?" Emily looked tiny against the white hospital sheets. "Not very good. The doctors say I need a new kidney." Kate nodded, her eyes darting around the room. "Yes, I heard." Robert stepped toward his sister. "Kate, can we talk in the hallway?" Outside Emily's room, Robert struggled to keep his voice calm. "What's going on with you? This isn't like you at all." "I told you, I have a phobia," Kate insisted, crossing her arms. "This is Emily we're talking about. Your niece, the little girl who made you those beaded bracelets every Christmas, who calls you her cool aunt from New York." Kate looked away. "I'm sorry, Robert. I just can't do it." "People face their fears all the time when someone they love is in danger," Robert said. "What are you really afraid of?" "You don't understand." "No, I don't." Robert's voice rose. "Explain it to me. Make me understand how you can let Emily die when you could save her." Linda appeared in the hallway. "Please, both of you." "Not here." They returned to Emily's room in uncomfortable silence. Kate stood by the window while Robert and Linda sat on either side of Emily's bed. The tension in the room was unbearable. "The doctors say I'm getting sicker," Emily said suddenly, looking directly at Kate. "They whisper when they think I'm sleeping, but I can hear them." Kate shifted uncomfortably. "Emily, I'm sure they're doing everything they can. They said I need your kidney because you're a match," Emily continued. "Why won't you help me, Aunt Kate?" "It's complicated, sweetie," Kate replied, her voice strained. Linda took Emily's hand. "Your aunt is afraid of hospitals, Emily. It's not that she doesn't want to help you." "That's not true," Emily said softly. Robert leaned forward. "What do you mean, honey?" "Aunt Kate isn't afraid of hospitals," Emily said. "She went to the hospital last year when she visited us. She brought me a magazine from the gift shop." Kate's face paled. "That was different, Emily. It wasn't for a procedure." "Then why won't you help me?" Emily's voice grew stronger with each word. "Is it because you don't love me enough?" "Of course I love you," Kate said, moving toward the bed for the first time. "It's not about that at all." Robert stood up. "Then what is it about, Kate? Tell us the truth." "I can't," Kate whispered. "Why not?" Linda demanded. What could possibly be more important than saving Emily's life? The argument escalated, with voices growing louder until a nurse poked her head in to check if everything was all right. They lowered their voices but continued their tense exchange, believing Emily had fallen asleep from exhaustion. "You've always been selfish, Kate," Robert hissed, "but I never thought you'd let your own niece die." "That's not fair," Kate responded, tears in her eyes. "You have no idea what you're asking me to do." "We're asking you to be a decent human being," Linda said, "to save our daughter's life." The room fell silent as they noticed Emily's eyes were open, watching them intently. She looked directly at Kate, her small face serious beyond her years. "Please, Auntie, don't let me die," Emily whispered. "I know you're not scared of hospitals. You're scared of what the doctors will find in your blood." Kate's face drained of color. She stared at Emily with shock and fear in her eyes, backing slowly toward the door. "What are you talking about, Emily?" Robert asked, looking between his daughter and his sister. But Kate was already turning away, her hand reaching for the doorknob. "Kate!" Robert called after her. "What does she mean?" "Kate, come back!" But Kate was gone, her high heels clicking rapidly down the hospital hallway as she fled. Robert raced down the hospital hallway after his sister, pushing past a food cart and nearly knocking over a nurse. "Kate! Stop!" he shouted as she disappeared around a corner. By the time Robert reached the elevator, Kate was already inside, repeatedly pressing the close button. Their eyes met for a brief second before the doors shut between them. Robert slammed his palm against the closed doors. He pulled out his phone and dialed Kate's number. But the call went straight to voicemail. "Kate, what is Emily talking about?" "Please come back. We need to talk about this," he said before hanging up. When Robert returned to Emily's room, Linda was sitting on the edge of the bed, gently stroking their daughter's hair. "Did you catch her?" Linda asked. Robert shook his head. "She was too fast. I've tried calling, but she's not answering." Emily looked up at her parents with tired eyes. "I'm sorry I made Aunt Kate run away." "You didn't do anything wrong, sweetheart," Linda assured her. "But we need to understand what you meant. Why do you think Aunt Kate is afraid of what doctors might find in her blood?" Emily closed her eyes for a moment. "I wasn't supposed to hear it." "It was at Christmas, 3 years ago." "The Christmas at our house?" Robert asked, sitting down on the other side of the bed. "When Grandma and Grandpa were still alive?" Emily nodded. "I woke up in the night and went downstairs to get water. I heard Aunt Kate and you talking in the kitchen. You both sounded angry." Robert frowned. "I don't remember arguing with Kate that Christmas. You were saying she needed to stop bringing it up," Emily continued. "And she said something about the truth coming out and that DNA doesn't lie. I didn't know what it meant then." Linda and Robert exchanged concerned looks over Emily's head. "Are you sure that's what you heard, Emily?" Linda asked gently. "Yes. I remember because it was the first time I heard grown-ups fighting at Christmas. It made me sad." Emily's eyelids began to droop with exhaustion. Later that evening, Dr. Cooper entered Emily's room with a serious expression. "We need to add another dialysis session. Her numbers dropped again this afternoon." "Is that normal?" Linda asked, her nursing background making her especially alert to the doctor's tone. "It's not unexpected given her condition, but it is concerning," Dr. Cooper replied. "Has there been any progress with your sister?" he asked Robert. Robert rubbed his tired eyes. "No, she's not answering my calls or texts. I even called her hotel, but she won't take my calls there either." Dr. Cooper nodded sympathetically. "I understand this is difficult, but we need to consider other options if your sister is not willing to donate." After Dr. Cooper left, a woman with short gray hair and kind eyes knocked on the doorframe. "Hi, I'm Sarah Jenkins, one of the hospital social workers. Dr. Cooper asked me to check in with you." "Thank you, but I'm not sure what a social worker can do right now," Robert said, his voice flat with exhaustion. "I'm here to help your family cope with this situation," Sarah explained, "and perhaps to discuss some of the personal issues that might be affecting your sister's decision." Linda gestured for Sarah to take a seat. "Emily overheard something a few years ago, something about DNA and secrets. We think it might be why Kate is refusing to donate." The next morning, Robert searched through old family photos on his laptop while Emily was in dialysis. There was Kate and Robert as children building a snowman in their front yard. Kate at her law school graduation with their parents beaming beside her. The whole family at Emily's 5th birthday party. "What are you looking for?" Linda asked, bringing him a cup of coffee. "I don't know. Clues? Something that might explain what Kate meant about DNA." Robert closed his laptop with a sigh. "Nothing looks unusual or out of place. We were a normal, happy family." When they returned to Emily's room, they found Dr. Cooper waiting for them. "I wanted to explain something that might be relevant to your situation," he said. "The transplant screening process involves detailed medical and genetic testing. Sometimes these tests reveal unexpected information about family relationships or genetic conditions." "What kind of information?" Robert asked. "Sometimes people discover they have medical conditions they weren't aware of. Other times the tests might reveal unexpected family connections, or lack thereof." Dr. Cooper hesitated. If your sister has concerns about what testing might reveal, that could explain her reluctance. Later that afternoon, Emily had a scary moment during dialysis when her blood pressure dropped suddenly. The medical team responded quickly, but the incident left everyone shaken. "She's stabilized now," the dialysis nurse assured them. But these episodes are becoming more frequent. That evening, Robert sat alone in the hospital cafeteria with his laptop open, researching his family's medical history. He couldn't remember any kidney problems on either side of the family, which made Emily's condition even more mysterious. Meanwhile, in another part of the hospital, a man named Thomas Green was reviewing patient files. As a counselor for the pediatric department, he often worked with families facing difficult medical decisions. He paused when he saw a familiar name on a file: Catherine Williams. "It can't be the same Kate," he murmured to himself. But as he read through Emily's case notes and saw the details about Kate's refusal to donate, he felt certain it was his Kate, his ex-girlfriend from college. Thomas and Kate had been serious for 2 years at Yale before their careers pulled them in different directions. He hadn't spoken to her in almost 10 years, but he still remembered her clearly, brilliant, driven, and private to a fault. After a moment of hesitation, Thomas decided to reach out. He drafted an email on his laptop. "Dear Kate, you may be surprised to hear from me after all these years. I work as a counselor at Boston Children's Hospital, and I came across your niece Emily's case. I understand you're in a difficult position. If you want someone to talk to, someone outside your family who might understand, I'd be willing to meet. No judgment, no pressure, just a friendly ear. Best, Thomas Green." Back in Springfield, the local community was rallying around the Williams family. Emily's school principal, Mrs. Torres, organized a donor awareness event in the school gymnasium. "Many people don't realize they can live normally with just one kidney," Mrs. Torres explained to the gathered parents and teachers. "We're not just doing this for Emily, but for all the children waiting for organ donations." At her hotel in Boston, Kate sat on the edge of her bed, ignoring the room service tray she had barely touched. Her phone showed 27 missed calls, 15 from Robert, 10 from Linda, and 2 from her office. She couldn't face any of them. Her laptop chimed with a new email notification. Kate almost ignored it, but the sender's name caught her attention. Thomas Green. "Thomas?" she whispered, opening the email. She read it twice, then a third time, her hands shaking slightly. After several minutes, Kate replied, "Thomas, life takes strange turns. Yes, I remember you very well. I'm dealing with something complicated right now, something I can't discuss with my family. Maybe talking to someone else would help. I'm staying at the Westbridge Hotel near the hospital. Could we meet at the cafe across the street tomorrow morning at 9? Kate." The next morning, Kate stood outside the small cafe across from the hospital, watching through the window as Thomas sat at a corner table with 2 coffee cups in front of him. He looked older, of course, but still had the same thoughtful expression and slightly messy hair. Kate took a deep breath and pushed the door open, the small bell above it announcing her arrival. Thomas looked up, and their eyes met. For the first time in days, Kate felt a tiny flicker of hope. She walked to his table with unsteady steps. As Thomas stood to greet her, Kate realized he might be the only person who could help her find the courage to face the truth, a truth that might save Emily but destroy the Williams family forever. Kate sat down across from Thomas, wrapping her cold hands around the warm coffee mug. The cafe was busy with hospital staff and visitors, their conversations creating a gentle hum around them. "You look good, Thomas," Kate said, her voice soft. "Counseling seems to suit you." Thomas smiled. "It's different from the law career we both planned in college, but I found my calling. And you became the successful attorney we all knew you would be." So Kate looked down at her coffee. "Successful. Right. Kate, what's happening with Emily is terrible. I'm not here to pressure you, but maybe talking about what's holding you back might help." Kate took a sip of coffee before speaking. "Have you ever kept a secret so long that it became part of you? Something you promised never to tell?" "Yes," Thomas nodded. "In my work, I see families with all kinds of secrets. Sometimes keeping them causes more damage than revealing them." "Even if the truth would destroy someone you love?" Kate asked. "Especially then," Thomas replied gently. "I've counseled families through organ donations before. The testing process often reveals things, genetic conditions, biological relationships." Kate flinched at his words. "That's what I'm afraid of." "Whatever it is, Kate, Emily's life is at stake. I've seen her chart. Her kidney function is dropping rapidly." Kate wiped away a tear. "I know, but this isn't just about me. It would change everything for Robert, for all of us." Thomas reached across the table and touched her hand. "Sometimes families grow stronger when truth comes to light. Not always, but often. Last year I worked with a family where a father learned his teenage son wasn't biologically his. It was painful, but they got through it together." Kate looked up sharply. Did the father ever forgive the mother? Eventually, yes, because despite everything, they were still a family. Thomas paused. "Kate, is that what this is about? A family secret?" Before Kate could answer, her phone rang. She checked the screen. "It's the hospital." Meanwhile, at Boston Children's Hospital, Dr. Cooper was examining Emily's latest test results with a concerned expression. "Her kidney function has dropped to below 7%, he told Robert and Linda. "We're reaching a critical point." Linda, who had been a pediatric nurse for 15 years, understood exactly what that meant. "How long does she have without a transplant?" "Days, possibly a week," Dr. Cooper replied. "I've moved her up on the National Registry list, but finding a match quickly enough is unlikely." Robert punched the wall, then immediately apologized. "I'm sorry. It's just, Kate isn't answering my calls. I don't understand how she can do this." Dr. Cooper placed a hand on Robert's shoulder. "Have you considered genetic testing for other family members? Sometimes distant relatives can be compatible." "We're trying everyone," Robert said, "but none of my cousins are close matches. Kate is still our best hope." Later that morning, a reporter from the Springfield Gazette arrived at the hospital. The local community had organized a donor awareness campaign, and the newspaper wanted to cover Emily's story. "We want to respect your privacy," the reporter, Jessica Chen, told the Williams family. "But sharing Emily's story might help raise awareness and potentially find her a donor." Linda nodded. "If it might help other families too, we're willing." Jessica interviewed the family sensitively, taking a few photographs of Emily with her parents' permission. Emily was paler than the day before, but she managed a small smile for the camera. "I just want to go home and play soccer again," Emily told Jessica, "and eat ice cream. The hospital doesn't have my favorite kind." Back at the Westbridge Hotel, Kate turned on the television while trying to decide what to do after her conversation with Thomas. The local news was on, and suddenly, Emily's face appeared on the screen. 10-year-old Emily Williams of Springfield is in critical condition at Boston Children's Hospital, the news anchor said. "Doctors say she urgently needs a kidney transplant to survive." The camera showed Emily in her hospital bed, looking small and fragile. Robert and Linda stood beside her, their faces drawn with worry. "The Williams family is asking anyone willing to be tested as a potential donor to contact Boston Children's Hospital," the anchor continued. Meanwhile, the Springfield community is rallying around the family with fundraisers and donor awareness events. Kate turned off the television, her hands shaking. She picked up her phone and saw a text message from Thomas. "I'm here if you need to talk more." At the hospital, Linda was sorting through Emily's backpack when she found her sketchbook. Emily loved to draw, and normally her pictures were full of bright colors and happy scenes. Linda's heart sank as she flipped through the recent pages. The newest drawings showed a hospital room with dark clouds. One picture showed Emily in bed with tubes connected to her. Another showed the whole family, Robert, Linda, and Kate. But Kate had a dark cloud over her head labeled "The Secret." "Robert, look at this," Linda said, showing him the drawing. Robert studied it with a frown. "She's picking up on more than we realized." "Children often express their fears through art," said a voice from the doorway. Thomas stood there with his hospital ID badge. "I'm Thomas Green, one of the counselors here. I'd like to spend some time with Emily, if that's okay with you." "Please, anything that might help," Linda replied. After Robert and Linda stepped out to get coffee, Thomas sat in a chair next to Emily's bed. "Hi, Emily. I'm Thomas. I help kids talk about how they're feeling when they're in the hospital. Emily looked at him with tired eyes. Are you here because everyone thinks I'm going to die? Thomas shook his head. I'm here because being sick is hard, and sometimes it helps to talk to someone. I'm not scared of dying, Emily said quietly. I'm scared of leaving my mom and dad sad. Thomas nodded. That shows how much you love them. Can you tell me about your Aunt Kate? I saw your drawing. Emily's face brightened slightly. Aunt Kate lives in New York. She wears fancy shoes and brings me presents from her trips. She's smart and pretty. But in your drawing, she has a cloud over her head, Thomas pointed out gently. Emily nodded. She has a secret. A big one. I heard her and Dad fighting about it at Christmas a long time ago. What else do you remember about that fight? Thomas asked. Aunt Kate said something about Dad not being her real brother. I didn't understand what she meant. Emily frowned. Is that why she won't give me her kidney? Because Dad isn't her real brother? Thomas carefully kept his expression neutral despite his surprise. I don't know, Emily. But sometimes grown-ups keep secrets because they're trying to protect people they love. That afternoon, Kate drove to Springfield Cemetery. She hadn't visited her parents' graves in over a year. The cemetery was quiet, with only a few other visitors placing flowers on distant graves. Kate found the familiar headstone with Williams engraved across the top. Mom, Dad, I don't know what to do, Kate said quietly, sitting on the bench facing the grave. You made me promise never to tell him. You said it would destroy him to know he wasn't really a Williams. Kate wiped tears from her face. But now Emily is dying and the blood tests will show everything. What am I supposed to do? Kate sat there for nearly an hour as if waiting for an answer that never came. When she returned to her car, she had 3 missed calls from the hospital. Feeling a sense of dread, she called back immediately. Ms. Williams, this is Nurse Martinez from Boston Children's Hospital. A woman's voice answered. I'm calling about your niece, Emily Williams. Has something happened? Kate asked, her heart racing. Emily had a severe drop in blood pressure during dialysis. Dr. Cooper has stabilized her, but he wanted me to inform you that her condition has become critical. He believes she may not survive another 48 hours without a transplant. Kate gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. I'll be there as soon as I can. She drove directly back to Boston, making the normally 2-hour drive in just over 90 minutes. As she parked at the hospital, she reached into her purse and pulled out an old, worn family photo, the evidence she had kept hidden for years. Kate entered the hospital and walked to the elevator, her heart pounding with each step. She had less than 48 hours to reveal a truth that would change Robert's life forever. The elevator doors opened to the intensive care unit and Kate stepped out. The ICU was different from Emily's previous room. More machines, more nurses, and a hushed urgency that made Kate's heart beat faster. A nurse stopped her before she could go further. Are you family? Yes, Kate said. I'm Emily Williams' aunt. Catherine Williams. The nurse's expression changed to recognition. Dr. Cooper asked to be notified when you arrived. Please wait here. Kate stood near the nurse's station, clutching her purse with the old photo inside. Through a glass window she could see Emily's room. Her niece looked tiny in the hospital bed, surrounded by machines with blinking lights and digital displays. Tubes connected Emily to the machines that were now doing the work her kidneys could not. Dr. Cooper appeared in the hallway, his face showing the strain of the past few days. Ms. Williams, thank you for coming, he said. Emily's condition has deteriorated faster than we expected. Her body is struggling to maintain basic functions. Can I see her? Kate asked. Of course. Your brother and his wife are with her now. Kate followed Dr. Cooper to Emily's room. When she entered, the tension was immediate. Linda sat beside Emily, holding her small hand. She looked up at Kate with red-rimmed eyes but didn't speak. Robert stood by the window, and when he turned to face Kate, his expression was a mix of hope and anger. You came back, he said simply. Kate nodded. I need to talk to you, Robert. Privately. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of Linda, Robert replied. Please, Kate insisted. Just you and me. There's something I need to tell you that should be just between us first. Robert looked at Linda, who gave a small nod. Go, she said. I'll stay with Emily. We can use the chapel, Dr. Cooper suggested. It's quiet there. The hospital chapel was small and simple, with a few wooden pews and stained glass windows that cast colored light on the floor. Kate and Robert sat in the front pew, a foot of space between them. What is this about, Kate? Robert asked. Why have you been refusing to help Emily? Kate took a deep breath and opened her purse. She removed the old photograph and held it in her hands for a moment before passing it to Robert. This was taken when you were 3 years old, she said. A few months after you came to live with us. Robert looked at the photo of himself as a toddler, standing between their parents with Kate, then about 6 years old, beside them. Came to live with you? Robert repeated. What are you talking about? Tears filled Kate's eyes. Mom and Dad adopted you when you were 2 years old, Robert. They swore me to secrecy. They thought if you found out, you wouldn't feel like a real Williams. Robert stared at the photo, then at Kate. That's impossible. I would know if I was adopted. They never told you. They planned to when you were older, but then they kept putting it off. They were afraid of losing you. Kate wiped tears from her cheeks. After a while, it became this huge family secret. When they died 3 years ago, I was the only one left carrying it. Robert shook his head in disbelief. This can't be true. I looked like Dad. Everyone always said I had his chin, his eyes. People see what they want to see, Kate said gently, but DNA doesn't lie. If I donate my kidney to Emily, the tests will show we're not biologically related. I was afraid it would destroy you during this already terrible time. Robert stood up suddenly and walked to the chapel window. Through it, he could see part of the ICU where Emily lay fighting for her life. His entire identity was being called into question, but looking at his daughter, he realized what mattered most. Where did I come from? He asked, his back still to Kate. Who were my real parents? I don't know much, Kate admitted. Mom and Dad adopted you through an agency in Burlington, Vermont. Your birth mother was very young. That's all they told me. Robert turned to face his sister, the woman who had always been his sister, regardless of biology. Why didn't you tell me before? All these years. Mom and Dad made me promise, and after they died, it never seemed like the right time. Kate stood up and moved toward him. I'm so sorry, Robert. I wanted to protect you. But now, Emily needs us. And I couldn't keep hiding the truth. Robert looked at the photo again, seeing it with new eyes. The toddler version of himself didn't have the same natural comfort with the family that Kate did. His parents, the people he'd always thought were his biological parents, were holding him carefully, lovingly, but now he could see the slight awkwardness of a newly formed family. My whole life has been a lie, he whispered. No, Kate said firmly. Your whole life has been real. Mom and Dad loved you completely. I loved you. We are a real family. Robert was quiet for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he reached out and pulled Kate into a hug. Thank you for finally telling me the truth, he said, his voice breaking. I don't understand everything yet, but Emily needs us. That's what matters right now. Together, they walked back to Emily's room. Linda looked up expectantly as they entered, noticing their red eyes and serious expressions. Is everything okay? She asked. Robert took her hand. Kate has agreed to donate her kidney to Emily. Linda burst into tears of relief. Thank God. Thank you, Kate. Dr. Cooper, who had been checking Emily's vitals, looked up. That's excellent news. We should start the final preparations immediately. There's something you should know first, Kate said. Robert and we're not biologically related. He was adopted as a child. Dr. Cooper's expression changed slightly. I see. That does change things medically. What do you mean? Linda asked, suddenly alert. The initial blood type matching is still valid, Dr. Cooper explained, but the tissue matching won't be as perfect as we thought when we believed you were biological siblings. Kate can still donate, but the risks of rejection are significantly higher. How much higher? Robert asked. It's hard to quantify exactly, Dr. Cooper replied, but instead of a 95% success rate, we might be looking at 70% or less. Emily's weakened condition makes the risk of complications even greater. We don't have a choice, Linda said firmly. She won't survive without the transplant. I understand, Dr. Cooper said, but I need to be transparent about the risks. Also, the hospital administration will need to approve this surgery given the increased complications. I'll need to call an emergency board meeting. As Dr. Cooper left to make arrangements, Robert, Linda, and Kate gathered around Emily's bed. For the first time in days, Emily's eyes fluttered open briefly. She saw Kate and Robert standing together, holding hands before drifting back to sleep. Did she see us? Kate asked. I think so, Linda said. I hope she knows you're here to help her. I'll do anything for her, Kate promised. No more secrets, no more hiding. An hour later, Dr. Cooper returned with a serious expression. The hospital board has convened an emergency meeting to discuss Emily's case. They're concerned about the risks of proceeding with an imperfect match, especially given her critical condition. But she needs this transplant now, Robert protested. We can't wait any longer. I know, Dr. Cooper agreed. I'll be advocating strongly for the surgery, but I wanted to prepare you. There will be questions about liability, informed consent, and medical ethics. Ethics? Kate repeated in disbelief. What's ethical about letting a 10-year-old girl die when there's a viable donor willing to take the risk? I agree with you, Dr. Cooper said, but these are standard protocols for high-risk procedures. The meeting starts in 30 minutes. I'll do everything I can to convince them. As Dr. Cooper left, a monitor connected to Emily began to sound an alarm. Nurses rushed into the room, moving with urgent efficiency around Emily's bed. What's happening? Linda cried out. Her blood pressure is dropping again, one nurse explained. Please step outside while we stabilize her. As they were ushered into the hallway, Robert, Linda, and Kate watched through the glass as the medical team worked frantically to save Emily. The minutes stretched painfully as they waited for news. Down the hall, hospital administrators were gathering in the boardroom, unaware that the decision they were about to debate had just become even more urgent. Emily's time was running out faster than anyone had predicted. The boardroom on the 5th floor of Boston Children's Hospital was filled with tense voices. 7 people sat around a large table with Dr. Cooper standing at the front beside a screen showing Emily's medical charts. Her kidney function is now below 5%, Dr. Cooper said, pointing to the latest numbers. Without immediate transplant, she will not survive another 24 hours. Dr. Patricia Lowe, the hospital's chief medical officer, frowned. We understand the urgency, James. But the donor is not a biological match as previously believed. The risk of rejection is substantially higher. The donor is willing to accept those risks, Dr. Cooper insisted, and the family understands the reduced chances of success. Mr. Harold Barnes, the hospital's legal counsel, leaned forward. The issue isn't just medical, it's legal. If we proceed with a high-risk transplant that fails, the hospital could face liability. So we're putting the hospital's legal concerns above a child's life. Dr. Cooper's voice rose with frustration. That's unfair, James, Dr. Lowe replied. We need to consider all aspects, including whether this is the best use of organs when success is less certain. The door to the boardroom opened suddenly. Thomas Green walked in, still wearing his counselor's badge. Excuse me, this is a closed meeting, Mr. Barnes said. I apologize for interrupting, Thomas said calmly. But I've been working with the Williams family, and I have information relevant to your decision. Dr. Lowe nodded. Go ahead, Mr. Green. Kate Williams fully understands the risks involved. She's made an informed choice to donate despite the lower chances of success. Thomas took a deep breath. I've known Kate for many years. She's thoughtful and deliberate in her decisions. If she's willing to do this, the board should respect her choice. Meanwhile, in the ICU, nurses worked quickly around Emily's bed as alarms continued to sound. Dr. Melissa Chen, the transplant surgeon who would be working with Dr. Cooper, rushed in. We need to intubate her now, Dr. Chen ordered. Her oxygen levels are dropping. Linda and Robert watched through the glass window, holding on to each other. What's happening? Robert asked a passing nurse. Dr. Chen is placing a breathing tube to help Emily breathe, the nurse explained gently. Her body is very weak right now. Kate stood slightly apart from Robert and Linda, her face pale with worry. A young doctor approached her. Miss Williams? I'm Dr. Rivera. If the transplant is approved, we need to do some final testing immediately. Can you come with me? Kate looked at Robert, who nodded. Go. We'll find you when there's news from the board. In the boardroom, the debate continued. We should set up special monitoring protocols, suggested Dr. Wilson, the head of pediatric surgery. Additional testing before, during, and after the procedure. And what about the donor's psychological state? Asked Dr. Martinez, the head of psychiatry. Is she emotionally prepared for either outcome? Thomas stepped forward again. Kate Williams has been carrying a family secret for years to protect her brother. Now she's choosing to reveal that secret and donate her kidney to save her niece. I believe that demonstrates her emotional readiness. The board members exchanged glances. Dr. Lowe sighed. Let's vote. Those in favor of approving the transplant with special monitoring protocols. 6 hands raised. Only Mr. Barnes kept his hand down. The transplant is approved, Dr. Lowe announced. Let's move quickly. Dr. Cooper immediately left the room, pulling out his phone to call his surgical team. Back in the ICU, Emily now had a breathing tube down her throat. The room was quieter, with only the steady beep of monitors and the whoosh of the ventilator. Dr. Cooper arrived, his face serious but hopeful. The board has approved the transplant, he told Robert and Linda. We need to move immediately. Dr. Chen will perform the surgery on Kate, and I'll handle Emily's procedure. Thank you, Linda whispered. She looked at Emily, now unconscious and connected to even more machines. Will she survive the surgery in this condition? Her body is very weak, Dr. Cooper admitted, but she has no chance without the transplant. We'll do everything possible to protect her. Within 30 minutes, nurses were preparing Emily for surgery. Linda made a quick call to Emily's school principal. The transplant is happening now, Linda explained, her voice shaking. Could you let her classmates know? Emily would want them to be thinking of her. Of course, the principal replied. We've already organized a prayer circle outside the school. Many parents and students are there now. Down the hall, Kate sat on an exam table while Dr. Rivera drew blood samples. These are the final cross-matching tests, the doctor explained. We'll rush them to the lab. Kate nodded silently. Her phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. I spoke to the board. Surgery approved. I'm here if you need me. Meanwhile, Robert stood in the bathroom of the ICU waiting room, staring at his reflection in the mirror. The man looking back at him had always been Robert Williams, son of Margaret and Joseph Williams. Now he knew that wasn't entirely true. He was adopted. The Williams had chosen him, raised him, loved him, but his blood came from someone else. Who am I? He whispered to his reflection. The bathroom door opened, and Thomas entered. Robert? They're preparing to take Emily to surgery. Robert turned away from the mirror. Thank you for speaking to the board. It was the right thing to do, Thomas said. Are you okay? Kate told me what she revealed to you. I don't know what I am, Robert admitted. But right now I'm just Emily's dad. That's all that matters. They returned to Emily's room where Linda was softly singing Emily's favorite song, even though her daughter couldn't hear her through the medications. A team of nurses entered the room. "It's time to take her to surgery," one said gently. Linda bent down and kissed Emily's forehead. "Mommy and Daddy love you so much. We'll be right here when you wake up." Robert leaned down next, his tears falling onto Emily's pale cheek. "Stay strong, my brave girl. Aunt Kate is going to help you get better." The nurses wheeled Emily's bed toward the elevator, Linda and Robert walking alongside until they reached the doors marked, "Authorized personnel only." "The surgery will take approximately 4 to 5 hours, a nurse explained. "The waiting room is on the 3rd floor. We'll send updates regularly." As Emily disappeared through the doors, Linda collapsed against Robert's chest, sobbing. In another part of the hospital, Kate was changing into a hospital gown. Her hands trembled as she tied the strings. "Nervous?" Dr. Chen asked as she entered the room. "Terrified," Kate admitted. "That's normal," Dr. Chen assured her. "But the procedure is very safe for donors. You'll be sore for a while, but most people return to normal activities within a month." There was a knock at the door. Thomas stood there, his kind eyes meeting Kate's. "They just took Emily to surgery," he said. "I wanted to check on you before they take you in." Dr. Chen excused herself to give them privacy. "I'm afraid," Kate whispered once they were alone, "not of the surgery, of what comes after. What if it doesn't work? What if it's too late for Emily?" Thomas took her hand. "You're doing everything you can. That's all anyone can do." "Will you stay? During the surgery, I mean. Robert and Linda have each other, but—" "I'll be here," Thomas promised. "The whole time." The door opened again, and the surgical team arrived with a gurney. "It's time, Ms. Williams," a nurse said. Kate squeezed Thomas's hand once more before lying down on the gurney. As they wheeled her toward the operating room, she saw Robert and Linda in the hallway. "Kate," Robert called, stepping forward. "Thank you." "For everything." "Save it for when Emily is better," Kate replied with a weak smile. In the 3rd floor waiting room, people from Springfield had begun to arrive. Emily's teacher, neighbors, parents of her classmates. They brought food, coffee, and quiet support for the long wait ahead. "The whole town is praying for Emily," Ms. Patterson, Emily's teacher, told Linda as she sat beside her. In operating room 3, Kate lay on the table as the anesthesiologist placed a mask over her face. "Count backward from 100, he instructed. 100, 99, 98. Kate's eyes grew heavy. In operating room 1, Dr. Cooper and his team worked with quiet efficiency around Emily, monitoring her fragile vital signs as they prepared for the delicate procedure. "BP is holding steady," a nurse announced. "She's ready, Dr. Cooper." Dr. Cooper looked at the clock on the wall, 11:17 in the morning. He picked up his scalpel and made the first careful incision, knowing that every minute mattered in the race to save Emily's life. The steady beep of medical monitors filled operating room 3 as Dr. Chen worked with precise movements. The procedure to remove Kate's kidney was progressing smoothly. Nurses moved efficiently around the table, passing instruments and monitoring vital signs. "Kidney function looks excellent," Dr. Chen commented as she carefully worked. "Ms. Williams is in good health." Across the hall in operating room 1, Dr. Cooper faced a more challenging situation. Emily's small body was already stressed from kidney failure, and her vital signs fluctuated worryingly. "Blood pressure dropping," a nurse called out. "Down to 80/50. Push 5 milliliters of epinephrine," Dr. Cooper ordered calmly, "and have 2 units of O-negative blood ready." In the 3rd floor waiting room, Robert paced back and forth while Linda sat motionless, clutching Emily's favorite stuffed rabbit. The room was filled with people from Springfield, teachers, neighbors, parents of Emily's classmates, all waiting silently for news. Thomas approached with 3 cups of coffee. "It's been 2 hours," he said, handing cups to Robert and Linda. "No news is good news. It means they're proceeding as planned." Robert accepted the coffee but didn't drink. "How long does it usually take?" 4 to 5 hours total, Thomas replied. "Dr. Chen should be finishing with Kate soon. Then they'll transfer the kidney to Emily." Linda looked up. "What if Emily's too weak for the surgery?" "Dr. Cooper is the best pediatric transplant surgeon on the East Coast," Thomas assured her. "Emily is in good hands." Robert walked to the window, staring out at the city of Boston spread below. The day was gray, with heavy clouds threatening rain. He thought about the revelation that had turned his world upside down just hours ago. "I keep thinking about my birth parents," Robert said quietly, when Thomas joined him at the window. "Who were they? Why did they give me up? Do I have siblings somewhere?" "Those are natural questions," Thomas replied. "Many adoptees struggle with them. I'm 42 years old. I should be past this kind of identity crisis." Robert shook his head. "But I can't stop wondering." "There's no timeline for processing something like this," Thomas said, "especially when it comes as a shock." Across town, at the offices of the Springfield Herald, reporter Jessica Chen was working on a follow-up story about Emily. She had just gotten off the phone with a transplant coordinator from Massachusetts General Hospital. "So the success rate for living donor transplants is around 95% in normal circumstances?" Jessica confirmed, typing notes. "Yes, but in cases where the recipient is already in critical condition, or where the genetic match isn't ideal, those numbers can be significantly lower," the coordinator explained. "And what factors improve the chances of success?" Jessica asked. "The skill of the surgical team is crucial. Boston Children's has an excellent reputation. Also, having access to the latest anti-rejection medications helps tremendously." Jessica thanked her source and continued writing her article, hoping to provide both accuracy and hope for the community following Emily's story. Back in Operating Room 3, Dr. Chen had successfully removed Kate's kidney. She placed it carefully in a special container filled with preservation solution. "Time?" she asked. "Kidney removal completed at 2:43 p.m., a nurse noted. "Estimated cold ischemia time begins now." "Let's close and get this to Dr. Cooper immediately," Dr. Chen instructed. "Every minute counts." A surgical resident took the container and rushed it to Operating Room 1, where Dr. Cooper was ready to begin the transplant. But as the team prepared to implant Kate's kidney into Emily, a monitor began to alarm loudly. Heart rate elevated, blood pressure dropping rapidly, a nurse called out. Oxygen saturation falling to 82%. Dr. Cooper assessed the situation quickly. "She's rejecting the anesthesia. We need to switch protocols. Get Dr. Ramirez in here now, and I need the pediatric cardiac response kit." "Dr. Ramirez is in surgery in room 4, a nurse replied. "Then get me the specialized pediatric anesthesia equipment from the 5th floor, Dr. Cooper ordered. "We can't proceed until she's stable." In the waiting room, a nurse named Olivia approached Robert and Linda. "Dr. Cooper wanted me to update you. They're experiencing some complications with Emily's response to anesthesia. It's not uncommon in patients with kidney failure, and they're addressing it now." "Complications?" Linda repeated, her nursing background making her especially alert to medical terminology. "What kind of complications?" "Her blood pressure and oxygen levels dropped," Olivia explained. "They're bringing in specialized equipment to stabilize her before proceeding." Robert gripped Linda's hand. "But they can fix it, right?" "Dr. Cooper is very confident," Olivia assured them, "but it will extend the surgery time by at least an hour." As Olivia left, Linda buried her face in her hands. "This is what I was afraid of. Her body is so weak already." Meanwhile, in a recovery room, Kate was beginning to wake from anesthesia. Thomas sat beside her bed, having received permission from Dr. Chen to be there when she woke up. "Thomas," Kate murmured, her voice rough from the breathing tube that had been removed. "Is it over? How's Emily?" "Your part went perfectly," Thomas told her, holding a cup of water with a straw to her lips. "They're still working on Emily. There have been some complications, but Dr. Cooper is handling them. Kate tried to sit up but grimaced in pain. What complications? Is she okay? Try not to worry, Thomas said gently. The surgical team is bringing in some specialized equipment to help stabilize her. Dr. Cooper is very good at his job. As the afternoon stretched into evening, word spread through Springfield about Emily's situation. At the First Methodist Church, Pastor Jenkins organized an impromptu prayer service that filled the sanctuary. At Springfield Elementary, Emily's classmates made a video of encouragement to send to the hospital. The blood bank at Boston Medical Center received an unexpected surge of donors when word spread that children with kidney failure often need transfusions. We've had over 30 people from Springfield come in today, the blood bank director told Jessica Chen during a phone interview. It's one of the largest community responses we've seen. In Operating Room 1, Dr. Cooper was finally ready to proceed with the transplant. The specialized equipment had arrived and Emily's vital signs had stabilized. Let's move quickly but carefully, he told his team. We've lost precious time. With meticulous precision, Dr. Cooper connected Kate's kidney to Emily's blood vessels and ureter. The procedure was delicate under normal circumstances, but Emily's weakened condition made every step more challenging. Blood flow established to the new kidney, Dr. Cooper announced after connecting the final vessel. Let's watch for signs of function. The team waited tensely, all eyes on the monitors. After several minutes, Dr. Cooper nodded with cautious satisfaction. The kidney is perfusing well. Let's finish here and get her to ICU for close monitoring. By the time Dr. Cooper emerged from surgery, it was nearly dawn. The waiting room had emptied of most visitors, but Robert, Linda, and Thomas remained, along with Miss Patterson and 2 other teachers from Emily's school. Dr. Cooper's surgical cap was wrinkled, and dark circles shadowed his eyes as he approached the family. Emily is out of surgery, he announced. The transplant itself was successful, but she experienced several complications that we had to address. Her condition remains critical. Can we see her? Linda asked, standing up. She's being settled in the ICU now. You can see her in about 30 minutes, Dr. Cooper replied. I want to be clear about what comes next. The next 72 hours are crucial. We'll be monitoring her constantly for signs of rejection or improvement. What are her chances? Robert asked directly. Dr. Cooper didn't sugarcoat his answer. Given the complications during surgery and her weakened state before the transplant, I'd estimate a 50 to 60% chance of full recovery. But Emily has shown remarkable resilience throughout this ordeal. After Dr. Cooper left, Robert turned to Thomas. How is Kate doing? She's in recovery and doing well, Thomas assured him. She's been asking about Emily non-stop since she woke up. 30 minutes later, a nurse led Robert and Linda to Emily's room in the ICU. Emily lay unconscious, connected to a dozen monitors that beeped with each heartbeat. Her face was pale, but for the first time in days, her hands and feet weren't swollen. Linda gently touched Emily's cheek. We're here, sweetheart. Aunt Kate gave you her kidney and now you're going to get better. Robert stood on the other side of the bed, carefully holding Emily's small hand between his own. Your job now is to rest and heal, Emily. We'll be right here. Nurse Olivia entered to check Emily's vitals. As she recorded numbers on Emily's chart, she glanced at a blood test result that had just come in. Dr. Cooper will be in shortly to discuss the first round of post-operative tests, she said before leaving. Neither Robert nor Linda noticed the slight furrow in Olivia's brow as she looked at one particular number on the lab results, a tiny indicator that would soon tell them whether Kate's tremendous sacrifice would save Emily's life or prove to be too little, too late. Dr. Cooper studied the lab results carefully before entering Emily's ICU room early the next morning. Robert and Linda were still there, having spent the night in uncomfortable chairs beside their daughter's bed. Good morning, Dr. Cooper said. We've received the first round of post-operative tests. Is something wrong? Linda asked immediately, noticing his serious expression. Nurse Olivia seemed concerned about something in the lab work last night. Emily's creatinine levels are higher than we'd like to see at this stage, Dr. Cooper explained. It could mean the new kidney is struggling to function properly. Is she rejecting the kidney? Robert asked. It's too early to say for certain. The next 72 hours will be critical. We'll monitor her blood work hourly and watch for any changes. Dr. Cooper adjusted Emily's medication drip. I've increased her anti-rejection medication, which should help. After Dr. Cooper left, Linda gently stroked Emily's hair. Fight, sweetheart. You need to fight. Down the hall, Kate was awake in her hospital room. She winced as she tried to shift positions in her bed. Take it easy, Thomas said from the chair beside her. You just had major surgery yesterday. How's Emily? Kate asked immediately. Thomas hesitated. Her condition is still critical. The doctors are watching her closely. Kate's eyes filled with tears. What if it was all for nothing? What if I waited too long? You can't think that way, Thomas said, taking her hand. You did everything you could. A nurse entered with medication. How's your pain level today, Ms. Williams? On a scale of 1 to 10? 6, Kate admitted. Maybe 7 when I move. That's normal after kidney donation. This will help. The nurse administered pain medication through Kate's IV. Dr. Chen will be in shortly to check on you. Robert arrived just as the nurse was leaving. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and wrinkled clothes. How is she? Kate asked anxiously. Hanging in there, Robert replied. Dr. Cooper says the next 72 hours are crucial. He sat in the chair Thomas vacated for him. How are you feeling? Sore, but I'm fine, Kate said, dismissing her own discomfort. Robert, I'm so sorry for everything, for keeping the truth from you all these years, for hesitating when Emily needed me. Robert took her hand. You're here now. That's what matters. By afternoon, a special nurse named Olivia Martinez had been assigned to oversee Emily's case. She had 20 years of experience with transplant patients and a gentle manner that immediately comforted Linda and Robert. I'll be Emily's primary nurse throughout her recovery, Olivia explained as she checked Emily's vitals. I'll coordinate with Dr. Cooper and make sure you're updated on every change, good or bad. Her hands feel warmer today, Linda noted, holding Emily's small fingers. Olivia nodded. That's a good sign. Her circulation is improving. When will she wake up? Robert asked. We're keeping her sedated to give her body time to adjust to the new kidney, Olivia explained. Dr. Cooper will start reducing the sedation tomorrow if her labs show improvement. On the second day after the surgery, Kate insisted on getting out of bed despite Dr. Chen's recommendation to rest. I need to see Emily, Kate said firmly, wincing as a nurse helped her into a wheelchair. 10 minutes only, Dr. Chen instructed. You need to recover too. Thomas wheeled Kate to Emily's room in the ICU. Linda looked up in surprise when they entered. Kate, you shouldn't be out of bed yet. I had to see her, Kate said, her eyes fixed on Emily's pale face. Any change? Her creatinine levels dropped slightly this morning, Linda reported. Dr. Cooper says that's a positive sign. Kate reached out to touch Emily's arm. Hey, Emily, it's Aunt Kate. I gave you my kidney, so you have to get better now, okay? That's the deal. Later that afternoon, Thomas sat with Robert in the hospital cafeteria. Robert had barely eaten in days, and Thomas had convinced him to take a short break while Linda stayed with Emily. Kate told me she'd like to help you find information about your birth family, Thomas said carefully. If you're interested. Robert set down his fork. I don't know if I am. The Williams family is the only family I've ever known. Searching for my biological parents feels like I'm being disloyal somehow. Many adoptees feel that way, Thomas said. But seeking information doesn't diminish your relationship with the parents who raised you. They kept it a secret my entire life, Robert said bitterly. Why would they do that? Different era, different beliefs about adoption, Thomas explained. Many families in the 1980s and 90s were advised to treat adoption as a closed chapter. Experts now recognize that's not the healthiest approach. Robert was quiet for a moment. What would I even be looking for? A name? Medical history? Whatever you want to know, Thomas replied. I have contacts at adoption agencies in Vermont who might be able to help if you decide you're ready. Back in Emily's room, Linda noticed a slight movement of Emily's fingers. Olivia, she called to the nurse. I think she moved her hand. Olivia came over to check. It could be an involuntary movement, but it might mean the sedation is wearing off. That's a good sign. That evening, Emily's classmates delivered an enormous card to the hospital. It was so large that 2 adults had to carry it. The card was covered with colorful messages and drawings from every student in Emily's grade. We'll put this right where she can see it when she wakes up, Olivia promised, helping to position the giant card on the wall facing Emily's bed. On the 3rd day after surgery, Dr. Cooper arrived early to review Emily's overnight lab results. His expression was cautiously optimistic. Her kidney function markers have improved significantly, he told Robert and Linda. Blood pressure is stable and urine output is increasing. These are all positive signs. Does that mean she's accepting the kidney? Linda asked hopefully. The indications are good, but we need to remain cautious, Dr. Cooper replied. Today is critical. If these positive trends continue, we'll reduce her sedation this afternoon and see if she wakes up. Word of Emily's improvement spread quickly. Kate, who was preparing to be discharged, insisted on visiting Emily again before leaving the hospital. The doctors say I can go home today, but I'm not leaving Boston, she told Robert and Linda as Thomas wheeled her into Emily's room. I've booked a hotel near the hospital for the next week. You should be resting at home, Linda protested. I'll rest better knowing how Emily is doing, Kate insisted. Robert helped Kate stand beside Emily's bed. Despite her obvious pain, Kate reached out to hold Emily's hand. Look at her color, Kate said. She's not so pale anymore. Her labs keep improving, Linda confirmed. Dr. Cooper is going to start waking her up this afternoon. Later that day, as the 72-hour mark approached, the family gathered in Emily's room. Dr. Cooper had reduced Emily's sedation 2 hours earlier, and they were waiting anxiously for any sign of her waking up. How long should it take? Robert asked. It varies, Dr. Cooper replied. The medications need time to clear her system. It could be minutes or hours. Nurse Olivia adjusted Emily's blankets and checked her vital signs. Her heart rate is increasing slightly. That often happens as patients begin to wake up. Thomas stood near the door, providing quiet support without intruding on the family moment. Kate sat in a wheelchair nearby, unwilling to return to her hotel until Emily opened her eyes. I need to tell you something, Robert said to Kate suddenly. With everything that's happened, I haven't had a chance to really process the news about my adoption. But I want you to know you will always be my sister. Biology doesn't change that. Kate's eyes filled with tears. You really mean that? Of course I do, Robert said firmly. You're the one who was always there for me growing up, who helped me with my homework and stood up to the neighborhood bullies, who saved my daughter's life. How could you be anything but my sister? Kate reached for his hand, and the siblings shared a moment of quiet understanding. The door opened, and Dr. Cooper entered with a tablet computer in his hand. His face was unreadable as he studied the screen. I have the latest test results, he announced. These will tell us definitively whether Emily's body is accepting the kidney. Robert and Linda stood up, moving to each side of Emily's bed. They clasped hands across their daughter's still form, both holding their breath as they waited for Dr. Cooper's next words. No one in the room noticed the slight flutter of Emily's eyelids, the first movement she had made on her own in 3 days. Good news, Dr. Cooper said, looking up from his tablet with a wide smile. Emily's body is accepting the kidney. All her markers show positive signs of adaptation and integration. The room erupted in emotion. Linda burst into tears, collapsing against Robert, who held her tightly, his own eyes wet with relief. Kate covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "So she's going to be okay?" Robert asked, his voice breaking. "There's still a recovery road ahead," Dr. Cooper cautioned. "But yes, she's past the most dangerous period. Her new kidney is functioning well." "Water," came a tiny, croaky voice from the bed. Everyone froze, then turned toward Emily. Her eyes were open slightly, unfocused but definitely awake. "Emily!" Linda cried, immediately reaching for her daughter's hand. "Can you hear me, sweetheart?" Emily's eyes moved slowly to her mother's face. She tried to speak again, but her throat was dry from days with a breathing tube. "Water," she repeated weakly. Nurse Olivia quickly stepped forward with a small cup and straw. "Just tiny sips at first," she instructed, holding the straw to Emily's lips. After moistening her mouth, Emily looked around the room, gradually taking in all the faces surrounding her bed. Mom, Dad, Aunt Kate. She recognized each one, her voice gaining a little strength with each word. "Doctor." Cooper moved to Emily's side, shining a small light into her eyes. "Hello, Emily. I'm Dr. Cooper. Do you know where you are?" "Hospital," Emily whispered. "My kidneys were sick." "That's right." Dr. Cooper nodded approvingly. "And your Aunt Kate gave you one of her kidneys. That's why you're feeling better now." Emily's eyes moved to Kate, who sat in her wheelchair, tear tracks still visible on her cheeks. "Thank you," Emily said simply. Kate reached out to touch Emily's hand. "You're welcome, sweetie." The following days showed steady improvement in Emily's condition. By the end of the first week, she was sitting up in bed, eating small meals, and talking more. The breathing tube had been removed, along with several other monitoring devices. Only the fourth delivering anti-rejection medication remained. "Can I go home soon?" Emily asked Dr. Cooper during morning rounds exactly 1 week after her surgery. "Not quite yet," Dr. Cooper replied. "We need to make sure your new kidney is working perfectly first. But you're making excellent progress." Later that day, Kate visited Emily's room, moving more comfortably now, though still with careful, measured steps. She had checked out of the hospital 3 days earlier, but remained at a hotel near Boston Children's Hospital. "I brought you something," Kate said, placing a small plush fox on Emily's bed. "I remember you like foxes." "Thank you," Emily smiled, taking the stuffed animal. "Mom says you gave me your kidney because we're family." Kate sat in the chair beside Emily's bed. "That's right. But Dad said something about you not being his real sister," Emily continued, her perceptive nature showing through despite her young age. "I heard him talking to Mom when they thought I was asleep." Kate glanced toward the door, making sure they were alone. "Your dad and I are still family, Emily. But we don't share the same birth parents. Your Grandma and Grandpa Williams adopted your dad when he was very little. Like how Molly in my class was adopted from China?" "Similar, yes," Kate nodded. "Your dad didn't know he was adopted until recently. Grandma and Grandpa kept it a secret, and they made me promise not to tell." Emily considered this information seriously. That wasn't nice of them to keep secrets. "They thought they were protecting him," Kate explained. "But you're right. Secrets can hurt people." "Is that why you didn't want to give me your kidney at first? Because of the secret?" Kate nodded, impressed by Emily's understanding. "I was afraid the doctors would find out we weren't biological siblings when they tested my blood. Then your dad would learn the truth during a very scary time." Emily reached for Kate's hand. "But family is about who loves you, not where you came from." Kate's eyes widened at the simple wisdom. "That's exactly right, Emily. You're very smart for your age." That's what my teacher always says," Emily replied with a small smile. Meanwhile, in the hospital cafeteria, Thomas sat with Robert, a folder open between them. "My contact at the Vermont Adoption Registry sent these preliminary records," Thomas explained. "They don't include identifying information yet, but they confirm you were born in Burlington, Vermont, and adopted through Green Mountain Adoption Services when you were 2 years old." Robert stared at the papers, conflicting emotions crossing his face. 2 years old. I don't remember anything before the Williams family." "That's common," Thomas assured him. "Most people don't retain memories from before age 3 or 4. "It says my birth mother was 17 when she had me," Robert noted, his finger tracing the line on the form. "Just a teenager." "If you want to pursue more information, there's a process," Thomas explained. "Vermont has relatively open adoption records. With your consent, we can request more details, possibly even identifying information if your birth mother has permitted it." Robert closed the folder. "I need time to think about it. My focus needs to be on Emily right now." 2 weeks after the transplant surgery, Emily was cleared to return home to Springfield. Her recovery had progressed remarkably well, with Dr. Cooper calling her case one of our greatest success stories. "Remember, she'll need to take anti-rejection medication for the rest of her life," Dr. Cooper reminded Robert and Linda during the discharge meeting. "And she'll need regular checkups, weekly at first, then monthly, then eventually just a few times a year." "I've already set up a medication schedule and calendar," Linda said, showing him her detailed notes. "My nursing background is finally coming in handy." When they wheeled Emily out of Boston Children's Hospital, she was surprised to see a small crowd gathered near the entrance. Her teacher, Miss Patterson, stood with 5 of Emily's closest friends, all holding welcome home signs. "We wanted to escort you home," Ms. Patterson explained, giving Emily a gentle hug. "And wait until you see what's waiting in Springfield." The drive from Boston to Springfield took just under 2 hours. As they turned onto their street, Emily gasped. Every house had yellow ribbons tied around trees and mailboxes, signs saying, "Welcome home, Emily," and "Our hero," stood in yards. A large banner stretched across their driveway, decorated with handprints from every student in her class. "The whole town was pulling for you," Robert explained, his voice thick with emotion. "Can Aunt Kate come over?" Emily asked as they helped her inside. "She's right behind us," Linda assured her. She insisted on driving herself, even though Thomas offered to bring her. Indeed, Kate arrived just 10 minutes later with Thomas following in his own car. "I've taken a leave of absence from my firm," Kate announced as they sat in the living room. "I'll be staying in Springfield for at least a month." "You don't have to do that," Robert protested. "You need to recover too." "I've already rented a small apartment downtown," Kate said firmly. "I can work remotely when I'm ready, but right now I want to be here for Emily, and for you, Robert." That evening, after Emily had gone to bed early, exhausted from the excitement of coming home, the adults gathered on the back porch. The cool September air carried the first hint of autumn. "I got a letter yesterday," Robert said quietly, pulling an envelope from his pocket. "From the Vermont Adoption Registry. My birth mother has agreed to limited contact." "That's a big step," Thomas noted. "How do you feel about it?" "Nervous, curious." Robert took Linda's hand. "Her name is Jennifer Carson. She lives in Maine now. She was 16 when she got pregnant, 17 when I was born. Are you going to contact her?" Kate asked gently. "I think so," Robert nodded. "I have so many questions. And apparently I have a half-sister in California." Kate looked out at the darkened yard. "I keep thinking about Mom and Dad and why they kept your adoption a secret. It was a different time, I guess. They were so afraid you wouldn't feel like a real Williams." "I am a Williams," Robert said firmly. "Nothing changes that. But I'm also curious about where I came from." The conversation continued late into the evening, the family beginning to heal not just from Emily's medical crisis, but from decades of hidden truths. Inside the house, Emily lay in her bed surrounded by her favorite stuffed animals, including the new fox from Aunt Kate. Her bedroom door was cracked open, and she could hear the adults talking on the porch. Even though she couldn't make out all the words, the gentle murmur of their voices made her feel safe and loved. For the first time in months, She fell asleep easily, without pain or fear, her body finally beginning to feel like her own again. 6 months later, on a bright spring morning, Emily Williams stood at the edge of the soccer field in Springfield Community Park. She wore her red team uniform and new cleats, bouncing slightly on her toes as she waited for her coach to call her in. "Just 15 minutes, Emily," Coach Ramirez had promised her parents, "and no rough contact." When Coach finally waved her in, Emily jogged onto the field with a smile so wide it made her cheeks hurt. Her teammates cheered as she took her position. "Go, Emily!" Linda called from the sidelines, where she sat with Robert and Kate on a folding blanket. "Remember what Dr. Cooper said, take it easy." After the game, Emily skipped over to her family, her cheeks flushed with healthy color. "Did you see me? I almost scored." "You were amazing," Kate said, handing her a water bottle. "The star of the team." "Doctor Cooper will be impressed with your progress," Robert added, ruffling Emily's hair. "We'll tell him at your checkup next week." Kate checked her watch. "I should head back to Boston. I have an early meeting tomorrow." In the months since the transplant, Kate had made major life changes. She'd left her high-pressure Manhattan law firm and taken a position with a smaller practice in Boston, just 2 hours from Springfield. Her new apartment had a spare bedroom that Emily had helped decorate for her weekend visits. "Will you come to the special party next weekend?" Emily asked, walking alongside Kate to her car. "I wouldn't miss it," Kate promised. "It's going to be the best day ever." Later that evening, after Emily had gone to bed, Robert and Linda sat in their living room reviewing Emily's medication schedule. "Dr. Cooper said we might be able to reduce the anti-rejection meds slightly," Linda noted, making a mark on their calendar. "Her last 3 blood tests have been perfect." Robert nodded, but his mind seemed elsewhere. "Jennifer called today. She and Melissa are definitely coming next weekend." "Are you nervous?" Linda asked, putting down her pen. "Terrified," Robert admitted with a small laugh, "but also excited. I've only spoken to them on the phone and video calls. Meeting in person will be different." Over the past months, Robert had established regular contact with Jennifer Carson, his birth mother. Their first phone call had been awkward but emotional. Jennifer had explained how, as a pregnant teenager with no support, she'd made the painful decision to give him up for adoption. "I want you to know I never stopped thinking about you," she'd told him, her voice cracking. "Every year on your birthday I lit a candle and wondered where you were, if you were happy." Through Jennifer, Robert had also connected with Melissa, his half-sister in California. At 37, she was 5 years younger than Robert and worked as a marine biologist. Their first video call had been filled with laughter as they discovered they shared the same distinctive laugh and love of history books. The following Saturday, the Williams family was busy preparing for a special gathering. Their backyard had been transformed with streamers, tables covered in yellow cloths, and a large banner reading, "Emily's New Beginning Celebration." "Is this where we're putting the cake?" Emily asked, helping Linda arrange plates and napkins. "Yes, right in the center," Linda replied. "And your classmates will sit at these smaller tables." The celebration was more than just a party for Emily's recovery. It was also the official launch of the Williams Family Foundation, which Robert and Linda had established to support families going through organ transplants and to advocate for adoption transparency. The first fundraiser brought in over $5,000, Robert told Kate when she arrived early to help set up. "We're going to help 3 families with housing costs while their children are in the hospital." "That's wonderful," Kate said, her eyes filling with pride. "Mom and Dad would be amazed by what you've created from all this." Around 2 o'clock, guests began to arrive. Emily's entire class came, along with teachers, neighbors, and many hospital staff who had been part of her care team. Dr. Cooper and Nurse Olivia received special welcome hugs from Emily. "You look like a different child," Dr. Cooper said, smiling at his recovered patient. "Your kidney function tests are better than many adults with 2 original kidneys." Thomas arrived with a large potted plant. "Sorry I'm late." The nursery was packed. Kate greeted him with a kiss. In the months since Emily's surgery, their rekindled relationship had blossomed. Thomas had recently transferred to a counseling position at a Boston hospital to be closer to Kate. "Is that it?" Emily asked, examining the small tree. "It doesn't look like a cherry tree." "It will grow," Thomas assured her. "In a few years, it will be covered with pink blossoms every spring." At 3 o'clock, Robert grew noticeably tense. Linda squeezed his hand as a car pulled into their driveway. "They're here," he whispered. Jennifer Carson was a slender woman in her late 50s with graying blonde hair and the same cleft chin that Robert had. Beside her stood Melissa, whose laugh they heard before they even saw her face. "Robert?" Jennifer said hesitantly as she approached. "Jennifer," he replied, suddenly unsure what to do. They had spoken many times by phone, but this was different. It was Emily who broke the ice, stepping forward with her hand extended formally. "Hi, I'm Emily. You must be my other grandmother." Jennifer's face softened immediately. "Yes, I suppose I am." She knelt down to Emily's level. "It's very nice to meet you, Emily. I've heard so much about you. I almost died, but then Aunt Kate gave me her kidney and now I'm better," Emily explained matter-of-factly. "Want to see my scar? It's really cool." "Emily," Linda laughed, "maybe save the scar showing for later." The initial awkwardness faded as the afternoon progressed. Jennifer met Kate for the first time, thanking her tearfully for saving Emily's life. Melissa fit in immediately, her outgoing nature and scientific knowledge making her an instant hit with Emily and her friends. Linda found herself deep in conversation with several parents whose children had medical conditions. Since Emily's recovery, she had started a support group at Boston Children's Hospital for families going through organ transplants, using her nursing background and personal experience to help others. "Sometimes just knowing someone else has walked this path makes all the difference," she explained to a mother whose son was waiting for a heart transplant. "You're welcome to join our next meeting." As evening approached, Robert gathered everyone around the back of the yard where Thomas and Kate had prepared a spot for planting the cherry tree. "Today we're celebrating many things," Robert announced to the crowd. "Emily's recovery, new family connections, and the launch of our foundation. This cherry tree represents new growth and hope." He handed a small shovel to Emily. "Would you and Aunt Kate like to do the honors?" Emily and Kate stepped forward together. Working as a team, they dug a hole and carefully placed the young tree into the ground. "Now we cover the roots with dirt," Kate instructed, helping Emily pack soil around the base of the tree. "And water it," Emily added, picking up the waiting watering can. As the sun began to set, the guests gradually departed. Jennifer and Melissa would stay in Springfield for the weekend, getting to know the family that had grown from the child Jennifer had given up 40 years earlier. The core family, Robert, Linda, Emily, Kate, and Thomas, along with Jennifer and Melissa, sat on the patio as darkness fell. Emily leaned against Kate's side, tired but happy. "I have to finish my school presentation tonight," Emily remembered suddenly. "It's due Monday." "What's your presentation about?" Melissa asked. "My experience," Emily replied. "Ms. Patterson said I could tell everyone about my kidney and our family." "Do you need help with it?" Robert offered. Emily shook her head. "I already know exactly what I want to say." She stood up straight, practicing her conclusion. "Family isn't just about blood. It's about who stands by you when you need them most." As the stars appeared overhead, they all looked toward the small cherry tree, barely visible in the twilight, but firmly rooted in the Williams family garden. Like the truth that had finally emerged, it would grow stronger with each passing season. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.